Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Wolverine ish now. Anyway, looks like we're only doing digital comics this week and for the foreseeable future. Because unfortunately, the rest of us don't actually have freaking healing factors. But hey, what are you going to do? Anyway, so this is issue number 2 of Wolverine. I was very disappointed to find out that they're not all going to be double-sized issues where it's like, the first half is going to be the Adam Kubert art, the next one is going to be the Victor Bogdanovic art. No, no, no. They're going to be taking turns. So we're not going to actually see the vampire story until issue number 4 and 5. But this issue and the next issue, it's going to be the Adam Kubert story. I'm not disappointed in that at all. Don't you dare get me wrong for even a second. But make no mistake, I'm still looking forward to vampires and snowmobiles. I'm just putting that out there. But this was still a hot comic book, man. There is so much to get into with this. I'm only going to give you but a taste because you got to buy it, you got to read it. Holy crap! But we're going to be talking about some of the stuff in there that was just too perfect. So let's get started with who made this comic book, then we'll get into that. So Benjamin Percy is the writer, Adam Kubert is the artist, Frank Martin doing the color art, and VC's Corey Petit doing the letters. Tom Mueller does the designs, and the cover art is by Adam Kubert and Frank Martin. Variant cover or two out there. Three. There's 3 variant covers out there. Enjoy. Nick Russell on production, and Jonathan Hickman is indeed the head of Mother Effin' X. So, look, man, we actually get a straight up murder scene in here. Wolverine straight up is possessed in many regards. And I'm not going to get into the what happens at the end of the comic book, but in the beginning, he's possessed. Like that whole scene with Old Man Logan, where all of a sudden what led to Old Man Logan is him killing everybody because Mysterio gassed him and whatnot. Yeah, guess what? That pretty much recreates right here. This is Wolverine's worst fears imaginable. And boom, it's done. I'm saying, like, he killed Jeannie and Domino and Quentin Quire. Mind you, Benjamin Percy, the writer for this comic book, is also doing the X-Force comic books, where those are the main members of the team also. I want you to think about that. He killed Jeannie. He kind of sort of has a conversation with Scott a little bit later when he mentions good friends. This could have gone worse. That's all I'm saying. This could have gone worse. Man. But like how deep this book is getting, let me tell you something. So we start this comic book off, however, with a dream sequence. Wolverine is getting flashes of what happened in the past, or at least it seems like it's Wolverine who's getting these flashes. Otherwise, it's just stuff that we're getting little pieces of. Either way, it feels like a dream. Sometimes you'll have a dream when you immediately wake up, you're like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. As a storyteller, I try to write, but I'm a storyteller at heart. You try and write down what happens in these dreams. I rarely dream, but I did have a dream this morning. And at night, I tried to tell my wife about it, and I was like, okay, this is the dumbest thing in the world, but like it just, dreams don't make sense unless you're actually in the dream. Then somehow everything, because your brain is telling you it makes sense. And that's exactly how this was drawn here. Kubert does an amazing job of confusing the hell out of us because things will happen and you'll sit there. I sat there and I tried to put everything that happened in order. Can't. You can't, or at least I can't. Maybe it's just a deficiency on my part, but I couldn't just put everything in order. It genuinely felt like we're talking the 9-panel pages, the standard, but you could still see the waves on the borders where you could tell this isn't standard. This isn't what's happening here. It's all wavy, indicating that you can't trust what you're seeing in here. Everything else, there's a solid border around it. Like you look at the panel layout in here, you can actually see the connections in the panels and everything. It's great. But when you're looking at this dream sequence, nothing's going to make sense. Trust me, it's worth to read it a second and third time, specifically that dream sequence, to get a good idea of what's actually happening. You're not wasting your time. You're not killing. What else do we have to do right now? You know what I'm saying? But with this COVID-19 thing happened, because somebody might look at this review a year later and be like, what was happening? What was going on at that time? Anyway, we're all in quarantine, peeps. Okay, the voice from the past is coming to you. We're all in quarantine right now. We're trying to just enjoy digital comic books, even though most of us, I think, weren't really into digital comics. I certainly wasn't. But it is what it is, man. And I'm sitting here and I'm reading this, and I'm shocked at how good this book is. Kubert sometimes gets crap for not being as good as, like other family members. I'm just going to leave that out there. But nah, dude, I digress. I think everybody should just digress from that. This was done really well. The sequences that actually lead into one thing, dude, it's one thing to be told, hey, draw this, draw that. But you could just put something direct to translation. But when you're actually looking at the art in and of itself, and you're seeing the story unfolding, and you know that even without the words on the side, it's still explaining it to you. I don't care who tells you what should be drawn on the page. You're still doing that storytelling when you're doing this. You're still the one doing this. Anyway, when Wolverine wakes up, and he wakes up with blood still on his hands, I think that is freaking awesome. We actually get a couple of the white pages. The white pages in these books don't seem nearly as intricate as like the Hickman white pages. Percy would rather, instead of leave something in the white pages, he'd rather actually have the story progress and leave some stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? Right now, currently, I'm not a huge fan of or at least I'm not marking out for the white pages in the Wolverine book. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, the X-Force is a little different, but here, he's just not doing too much. It's like he's explaining what you can already see elsewhere. Jeff Bannister in this. I'm hoping that we don't lose him, because it looks like something really bad happens to him at some point. I'm saying. Wow, I'm saying. Here, I'm going to just close this out right now because I don't want to look at that anymore. I want to just talk about the book in and of itself. Look, man, you have literally got the story that is unfolding before us, and it is wicked. It is incredible how deep the story gets. Because again, to me, I love political intrigue in my comics. You know what I'm saying? I love social commentary in my comics. I don't need it to be overt, like, this is what you're reading, blah, blah, blah. No. I want to be able to figure it out for myself. But I also don't want to be, necessarily too much, or I don't need it to be too much subterfuge. I'm okay with it, it actually being fairly obvious what's happening in there and how the situation relates to the outside world. That's not necessarily what I'm seeing here. What I am seeing instead is we're getting a really deep story. And I love that. I feel like the story is being told to us twice in many regards. Getting back to those white pages for a quick moment, we read something in the comics, or in this comic book. The white pages in this issue, at the very least, are really for in case you missed something that was already given to us in the story. I get everything that happened. I didn't feel like I needed any of the white pages in this. The Pale Lady turns out to be we don't find out who exactly she is or anything to that effect. But it turns out that she knows a lot more than than what we're being led to believe. The idea that Wolverine and Jeff actually have to work together, and the lack of respect that they really have for each other, it's like a professional courtesy, but they're still going to take little digs at each other. Jeff goes and points out, yeah, I don't enjoy the idea of working with you. You probably don't enjoy the idea of working with me, but I definitely don't enjoy the idea of working with you. I'm not a fan of you mutants. See the scar? Yeah, collateral damage from one of the wars that, you mutants had with each other. Yeah, there's been plenty of wars that the mutants have fought on behalf of the humans to save humans too. I don't hear any mention of that though. Just saying. Also, even the daughter in this, who's bedridden with this version of cancer, whatever she's going with, I forget from the first issue. Even her, she's saying this is the mutants' fault. What's the mutants' fault exactly? That they're giving you drugs, but they're not giving the drugs fast enough? That you haven't, that you're on a waiting list to get the drugs, because it's the system is actually purposefully inefficient? Are we going to wind up not siding with, but sympathizing with the actual pedal cartel, the flower cartel, because in some ways, maybe we're going to find out that they're not just doing the drugs, but they're also bringing the pedals so that they can try, the drugs themselves in order to be able to help people out. Because that's a lot of what's happening all over the world. The cartel seems to be bringing these drugs faster to the people than the mutants are. They're bringing them to the people who can pay for them, as opposed to the people who are just hoping to get them because, hey, I was technically next in line. You bought, I was number 6 in line. They were on number 5, but you bought 5.5 for $1 million. That's not really fair, is it? I'm loving where the story is going. I'm loving how deep it gets. I'm loving that the nuance in here of everybody not trusting each other, if not just flat out hating each other, the reluctancy to work with each other. And at the same time, everybody is getting played like a fiddle. When you see what happens with Wolverine at the end, and the mind screw, there's a different word with the letter, F in there. I'm trying not to curse in this. The mind F that they do to Wolverine, though, at the end of this, when he finally gets his claws on them, because this is the one thing that you do not do with Wolverine. And mind you, the very beginning of this comic book is talking about how, my brain doesn't heal like the rest of my body does. Damn. Damn. I think I'm going to go listen to Johnny Cash's Hurt today. Might have had something to do with something that happened in the comic book relating to a jukebox. But all that being said, freaking fantastic comic book, as can be expected. Again, we're going to get more of this story in the next issue. I doubt it's going to be wrapped up. I hope it's not wrapped up. But then we're going to get at least 2 more issues of the Bogdanovich story by Percy, where it's the vampires in Russia and Dracula eventually. So I'm looking forward to all of it. I dig how this book is being told in a similar vein that the New Mutants book is being told. However, it's not Hickman and Brisson taking turns with the book. It's actually it's still Benjamin Percy the whole time, but switching between Adam Kubert and Victor Bogdanovich on art, and therefore the stories that are being told. I am here for all of these stories, and I can't tell you which one I love the most. No, it's like with kids. You're not supposed to love one over the other. You know what I'm saying? They're both cool for their own reasons. Anyway, digging on this and can't wait until the next issue. Professor Bill Comic Book University. No. Not yet. Turn your phone sideways, like the video. We're all trying to bring you awesome content. And if a video pops up at the end of this, an advertisement, that's the only way that we get paid. Have a heart, have a care, because damn it, that's the only way that your favorite YouTubers get paid. I'm saying. And now I'm out. Professor Bill Comic Book University. Be safe. Class dismissed.